Hi, I'm Mark, and today I wanted to share with you one of my favorite recipes, which is an easy bread recipe. Now, what I like about this recipe is that if you've never made bread before, if you're not an experienced baker, if you don't have the tools like a mixer, this is the perfect recipe for you. You don't need any of that. What you do need, though, is two important things. You need 18 hours of time to let this dough rise, and you also need some kind of covered cooker, otherwise known as a Dutch oven. Today I will be using a stoneware Dutch oven, you'll see in a moment. To make this dough, we're going to start off with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. And you don't need any expensive, fancy kind of flours. Like I said, all-purpose flour is perfect. If you wanted to, you could replace 1 cup of the flour with 1 cup whole wheat flour. I don't recommend going any higher than that. I've tried that and it didn't come out right. And also, bread flour is not necessary. And if you wanted to use that, again, you could substitute 1 cup of bread flour for the regular flour. But regular all-purpose flour is the best bet for this recipe. You also need 1.5 teaspoons of good salt. So I'm using sea salt, the fine crystals. And that's 1.5 teaspoons. Yeast, just regular yeast that you see in the store. Again, nothing fancy. I prefer the active dry yeast instead of the instant rise yeast. And here we're going with just 1/2 teaspoon. Now, if you are an experienced baker or if you've made bread a number of times, you might think that that sounds like too little of the yeast. However, the 18-hour rise is what's really going to let this do its magic. So again, 1/2 teaspoon. I'm just going to shake this up just to sort of incorporate dry ingredients a little bit. And now we're going to add 1.5 cups of warm water. You don't want boiling water. That would be too hot and could actually kill the yeast. What you do want, though, is the hottest water that you can get from your sink. And again, 1.5 cups. Now here's the fun part, and one of the reasons why I like this recipe. All you need is a spoon. We're just going to mix this just until it becomes mixed into like a ball. We don't want to overwork it, and if you still see some lumps in it, that is perfectly okay. Again, when this goes into its rise for 18 hours, it's going to take all the lumps out of this. So we're just going to give it a slight stir. And it's also going to be a very wet, sticky dough. So be prepared for that. And that's it. I don't see too much dried flour in the corners of the bowl. So I'm going to say we're done. And this is what you'll end up with. Just a sticky looking mess. Okay, so I'm going to put my cover on. And now we let this sit for 18 hours. You could go as little as 12 to 15, and you could go as much as 24. However, 18 really seems to be the sweet spot for this bread. Now, if you wanted to, you could put this in the refrigerator and give it 72 hours to rise. And if you do that, you will actually end up with one of the best pizza crusts you've ever had. I made one last night, so this has had about 17 hours on it now. It's really quite airy, fluffy, and extremely sticky. And that is perfect. It's exactly what we want. So now we've come to the phase where we're going to bake this bread. About a half hour ago, I put my Dutch oven into the oven and I preheated it to 450 degrees. And again, if you've been a baker, that may sound kind of high, but that's what you want for this particular recipe, 450. And we're going to bake it for a half hour with the cover on the Dutch oven. Then we'll take the cover off, and it's going to need probably about another 20 minutes, maybe even a half hour. So let me get this going here. I'm just going to take a little flour, just put a little flour on my counter. Just going to put put a little more on here, just so I can get this out, because again, it is really sticky. But once it's out, we don't need to form it into a ball, we don't need to do any more kneading, we just need to get it together, I guess is the best word I can use. So I'm going to scrape it out of the container, hands. And again, it's very, very sticky. And I'm just going to kind of bring it together and put a little bit of that flour on the outside edge. So in addition to helping it not stick to our hands, the flour is also going to help it not stick inside your Dutch oven. So there we go, we're good to go. Let me open up my oven. You can see what's going on there. So inside the oven again, this is my cooker. I also have a cover for my cooker. Both of them have been in there the whole time, preheating to 450 degrees. I'm just going to dump this right in there. Put this cover on. And we're going to give that a half hour, and then we'll take the cover off. So it's been a half hour. We're going to remove the cover. And as you can see, the bread is starting to get brown. It's nice and crusty on the outside edge. And the cover trapped all the moisture that was in the bread and caused a nice steam that's going to give us a beautiful, crusty exterior. And now we're going to put this back in for about another 20 minutes, maybe as much as 30 minutes, but we'll check it in 20. So it's been a half hour and I have checked the bread a couple of times. I like a really dark brown exterior because I like a nice deep crust on bread. So I'm going to take it out now. As you can see, it's very, very crusty on the outside, but the inside is going to be very soft and pillowy and bubbly. It's probably the easiest bread you'll ever make. You can impress all your friends.